Ramadan Mubarak, first day of Ramadan, 1445 Hijri calendar. Successful Ramadan, beautiful brothers and sisters. This is the month to be peaceful, prayerful, and to resist and avoid the jinn possessed people in our immediate environments. My environment is filled with jinn possessed people. So, this is going to be a month of solidarity and avoiding of the jinn possessed. And the jinn possessed, you can find even wearing hijab like you, sisters. Just because your sister is wearing hijab like you, or brothers proclaiming, brothers wearing kufi and, and proclaiming, does not mean they don't have a jinn possession in order to derail you from your duties during the fasting month. So it's the month of discernment as well as fasting. Fasting not only from eating and drinking, but fasting from drama filled spaces, fasting from jinn filled, jinn possessed humans, and making good use of this month to run closer and run faster and make whatever efforts, extra efforts that you need to make toward what Allah and Quran has Allah by way of the Quran has instructed us to do as serious Muslims. So this day being first Ramadan, for me being surrounded by non-Muslims and even having to go the 16 miles out of town to be around some claiming to be Muslims with their mouths. However, their behaviors are showing me that they are jinn possessed. This is a month of discernment, mostly solidarity, and definitely economy of speech when in the presence of those we know through their behaviors are jinn possessed. So we have to always pay attention to the behaviors of those around us to discern whose side they're on, whether their behavior is Quranic or other than Quranic. And if their behaviors are other than Quranic, regardless to how they dress, regardless to how loud they make their salah, their behaviors tell you whether or not they are serious Muslims or they are seriously seeking attention. Serious Muslims are not trying to be the loudest and the most visible. Serious Muslims quietly have their hum with Allah, show their hum to Allah, and do it quietly for Allah. Allah can see everything. Allah don't need us to speak loudly to hear us. Allah don't need us to move around and blast you or be outside to see us. If we are inside our homes, making our salah with all seriousness and diligence, fasting our fast. Nobody needs to know we are fasting outside of ourselves. If someone asks, we can answer honestly whether we are fasting or not fasting. But it is not something for us to be bragging to people. Oh, it's Ramadan, we're fasting. No, 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 no. Fast so Allah knows you're fasting. Nobody else have to know it. Especially if they are non-Muslim. They don't have to know it. You don't have to proclaim it to them. And you don't have to be visible to them at all unless it is 100% necessary that for you to uh, take care of your daily responsibilities that you may have to be around people. If you don't have to, don't. If you don't have to be around drama filled, gin filled humans, choose a different time, a different place, a different mode of movement, a different uh, path that you normally take to go from place to place. Travel singularly if it is possible, if the type of people that you must encounter are people who are going to be gin filled and are going to be trying to disturb this your month of fasting and dedication to Allah. This has had to be my choice since moving to my mother's hometown in 2009. This month is the month that I spend the least time with people in her hometown because they are not Muslim and their behaviors reflect that. And their prejudices toward Muslims reflect are reflected in their behaviors. So, dedication to Allah and to is dedication to the self. Dedication to the self is dedication to Allah. It's the same thing. This is the time to self reflect, self examine, pay attention to all of what your conduct is. Because as a devout Muslim or even a devout Christian, my mother was devout. My grandmother was devout Christian. And she was always in the presence of demon possessors, trying to find fault with her life as a widow woman who raised her four children on her own, not without complaints. She had plenty of complaints, whining about what she couldn't do because her man was dead. That was one thing that used to irritate me because looking at her and all of the things that she accomplished as a woman whose man was dead, I couldn't see why she was still whining and complaining. She had accomplished quite a bit, had been a huge example for her three daughters and one son. And she had two daughters who also had to be mothers raising their children without the men for different reasons because the men just were not responsible instead of the men being dead. But she was a great example for these daughters of how to handle themselves in their households once their men were no longer in it. And so they were great mothers. They were great mothers in spite of the fact that the husbands that they chose were not real men. So these beautiful examples as one of the children of those daughters, because the other child of the single daughter is male, and his choices as father have been better, I think, because of his mother making up for the fact that his father chose not to really be a father, and chose to be careless and hapless. He chose not to be like that man, and so his children can respect him as a father because he chose not to be like his father, and I respect that. And the man who my mother married has never chosen to be a father, and that was his choice. That was his choice. And so his example let me know, his example, my cousin's so called father example, and my grandmother's example, because her husband died, was an example for me that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if he really felt that the male was always necessary to be present, he wouldn't allow the man to die and leave the woman to raise children by herself. That would be a cruel, 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 cruel God who would leave a woman to raise children by herself and not leave her with the wherewithal to do it, would not leave her with his support to do it. A human father may be necessary for procreation and may not, because there is such a thing as parthenogenesis among many species, including our species when our diets were pure. If it was 100% necessary for both parents to raise the child, then there wouldn't be men dying early while the children were little, and there wouldn't be women dying in childbirth. So it obviously doesn't always have to take two to raise the children. It just has to take one that is dedicated to the children. My grandmother's mother died when she was 2 years old, 4 days after giving birth to her little brother. And her grandfather and his wife raised her. He chose to marry another wife because his first wife had died. She never knew her natural grandmother. Her natural grandmother died before she was born. And her mother died when she was 2 years old. So her step grandmother raised her. And that was beautiful. That there was someone willing to do that. Marry a man with children in the teens and raise them. Help him raise them. So this is a time to be thankful, have hums, be thankful for whatever lesson your life is presenting to you, and making sure that drama filled spaces miss you. You don't have to be in drama filled spaces. You don't need that. And if you don't need to be in drama filled spaces, you can avoid being in drama filled spaces and respect yourself for it. Whether other people respect it or not is not your concern, it's not your responsibility. Your responsibility is your conduct. Other people's conduct, not your responsibility. Other people's fables and lies, not your responsibility. Other people's opinions of you, not your responsibility, not your business. Don't even ask what somebody else think of you, because it doesn't matter at all. So, Ramadan Mubarak, have a successful Ramadan this year, 1445. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. Peace. This is the end of this particular video.